He was 30 minutes away from the interview that could save his career when he made a decision that would cost him everything. Or so he thought. Stay till the end, because what happens next proves that one small act of kindness can rewrite an entire future. Before we begin, subscribe to this channel for real-life inspired stories that restore faith in humanity and remind us that doing the right thing is never wasted. Ethan Carter checked the time on his cracked phone screen for the third time in less than a minute. 8:47 a.m. The interview was scheduled for 9:30 sharp. The building was 20 minutes away by subway if nothing went wrong, and everything had already gone wrong lately. He tightened his grip on the worn leather folder under his arm. Holding printed resumes he had revised so many times he could recite every line from memory. Today wasn't just an interview. It was the interview. 6 months unemployed, savings drained, rent overdue, student loans calling every morning like clockwork. This job at Hawthorne Solutions was supposed to be the turning point, the moment his life finally stopped sliding backward. The city was loud in that familiar weekday morning way. Horns blared, buses hissed at the curb. Commuters rushed past with coffee cups and expressions carved from stress. Ethan blended into the crowd, just another young man in a navy blazer that didn't quite fit anymore, shoes polished enough to look respectable from a distance. He had practiced his answers all night. Strengths, weaknesses, leadership moments, overcoming adversity. He had done everything right, at least on paper. As he approached the subway entrance near Madison Street, he noticed her. She was sitting on the concrete steps just outside the station, head lowered, shoulders shaking slightly. At first glance, she looked out of place rather than homeless. Her coat was expensive, though dusty now, and her handbag lay tipped over beside her, its contents spilling onto the ground. Papers fluttered lightly in the breeze. A phone lay face down near her knee. People walked past her as if she were invisible. Ethan hesitated for half a second. This was New York. People cried on sidewalks for 100 reasons that had nothing to do with you. He took a step toward the stairs, then stopped again. He heard a soft sound, a strangled sob that didn't sound performative or loud enough to attract attention. It sounded desperate. He glanced at his watch. 8:48. Just ask if she's okay, his conscience whispered. It'll take 10 seconds. He turned toward her. Hey, he said gently. Are you all right? She looked up, startled, as if she hadn't realized she was visible. Her eyes were red, lashes clumped with tears. She looked young, maybe early 20s, but there was something older in her expression, awareness that didn't match her age. She shook her head, then tried to speak. Her voice cracked. I can't find my phone. I think it's gone, and I don't know what to do. Ethan glanced down. Isn't that it? He asked, pointing. She followed his gaze, then let out a shaky laugh that dissolved into fresh tears. Oh my God, I didn't even see it. He reached down and picked it up, handing it to her. There you go. Thank you, she said, clutching it to her chest like a lifeline. Then, as if the relief had opened a floodgate, she started crying harder. Ethan shifted awkwardly. This was already taking longer than 10 seconds. He checked the time again. 8:49. Do you need help with anything else? He asked, careful not to sound rushed. She nodded, swallowing. I missed my ride, and now my card isn't working. I just moved here, and I don't really know anyone yet. I feel stupid. I shouldn't be sitting here like this. You're not stupid, Ethan said automatically. New cities are overwhelming. Trust me. She wiped her face with the sleeve of her coat. I don't even know why I'm telling you this. Because I asked, he said with a small smile. And because sometimes you just need one person to stop. She looked at him properly now, studying his face as if committing it to memory. Thank you for stopping. Ethan glanced toward the subway entrance again. Commuters flowed past him, swallowed by the underground. His interview loomed in his mind like a flashing warning sign. What's your name? She asked. Ethan. I'm Lily. He crouched down to help gather the papers scattered at her feet. They looked like forms, official documents. One envelope had Hawthorne Solutions stamped in the corner. Ethan froze. You're applying there? He asked, surprised. Lily blinked. No, my dad works there. Ethan's stomach tightened, but he brushed the feeling aside. Coincidence meant nothing. Thousands of people worked there. Are you meeting him? Ethan asked. She shook her head. No, I was supposed to take a car service to my apartment, but I panicked and got out early. Stupid idea, it happens, Ethan said, standing up. He hesitated, then made a decision that felt heavy even as it left his lips. "I can walk you somewhere safe, or help you get a ride." She looked relieved. "Really, you don't have to." He thought of the interview again. 9:30. The clock didn't care about good intentions. "I can spare a few minutes," he said. They walked to a nearby cafe where she could sit inside, warm and calm down. Ethan ordered her a tea without asking, paid with cash he shouldn't have been spending, and slid it across the table to her. "Thank you," she said again, quieter now. They talked for a few minutes. Nothing important, where she moved from, how overwhelming New York felt. Ethan kept glancing at the time, his heart pounding harder with each passing second. At 9:05 he stood up abruptly. "I'm really sorry," he said. "I have to go. I have an interview." Her eyes widened. "Oh my God, I didn't mean to make you late." "It's okay," he lied. "You'll be all right?" She nodded. "Thanks to you." He hurried out of the cafe, practically running toward the subway. By the time he reached the platform, the train doors slid shut in front of him. He watched it disappear into the tunnel, chest tight. The next train arrived 5 minutes later. Traffic underground stalled for another 10. When Ethan finally ran into the lobby of Hawthorne Solutions at 10:12, breathless and apologetic, the receptionist looked at him with practiced sympathy. "I'm sorry," she said. "The interview panel has already concluded." Ethan stood there stunned. "I was here. I tried. Is there any chance?" She shook her head gently. "They're very strict." He walked back outside in a daze. The sky was just as bright. The city just as busy. No one knew his future had slipped away in a coffee shop a few blocks down. For 2 days, Ethan replayed the moment over and over. If he hadn't stopped, if he'd left sooner, if kindness had cost him the one thing he couldn't afford to lose. Then, on the 3rd day, his phone rang. "Hello, is this Ethan Carter?" a woman's voice asked.
Yes.
He said cautiously. "This is Margaret Bell from Hawthorne Solutions. We'd like to invite you back for a conversation." Ethan's heart slammed against his ribs. "I thought the position was filled." "It was," she said. But circumstances changed. The next morning, Ethan sat in the same lobby, hands folded tightly in his lap. When he was called in, it wasn't to the conference room he remembered, but to a larger boardroom upstairs. And when the door opened, Lily was standing there. She smiled softly. Not the fragile, crying girl from the sidewalk, but someone composed, confident, radiating quiet authority. "Ethan," she said, "I'm glad you came back." He stared at her, confused. "This is Lily Hawthorne," one of the executives said. "She's the CEO's daughter." Ethan's mouth went dry. "She told us about a young man who chose to help her instead of saving his own career." The executive continued. "Someone whose values align perfectly with what this company stands for." Lily met his eyes. "You didn't know who I was?" she said. "You helped me anyway? That matters." Ethan swallowed hard. "I almost lost everything because of that choice. And instead," Lily said gently, "you found the right place." They offered him a position that day, a better one than the original, with benefits he hadn't even dreamed of. As Ethan left the building, offer letter in hand, he realized something profound. Kindness isn't a delay, it's an investment. And sometimes, the future is quietly watching to see who you choose to be when you think no one important is looking. Before we end this story, tell us in the comments which part of the country you're watching from. Your city might be the next place where a simple act of kindness changes everything.